Good morning. Welcome to all of you out there in LinkedIn land or YouTube or Facebook. It is, of course, Tuesday morning, and that means we are live with Listening with Your Eyes. I am Allison Henderson, your host and founder of Moving Image Consulting, and my special guest today is someone I am so thrilled to have on here because of the personality and not only the knowledge, but there's going to be some real body lessons learned from simply watching and observing. So if you are watching the replay, I encourage you to keep it running. And if you're joining us, please put in some questions or some comments just to let us know you're out there. That always helps us feel like we're not speaking to no one. So Joshua Berngard, he is our guest today, and he is the president and founder of Buzzer Real Estate. And he focuses on divorce, elder care, and veteran-related residential real estate. And the reason we really connected is because we have a shared history in performance. And Joshua had been a dancer at one point in his life. And little known fact, he was one of the warm-up dancers for the Jenny Jones show and got the audience riled up and all excited, so that when she came out, of course, it was all fun and basically Ellen could do that almost by herself. I'm sure she has people too, but Jenny Jones needed a little bit of help in that. And so Joshua's also taken that skill then and has another company where he does emceeing. So he flies around the country doing the MC work for big events. So if you need an MC, you need to look up MC Joshie B. And if you are in the real estate need, if you are buying or selling, you need to look up Buzzer Real Estate, and we'll make sure that we put the link. Well, I guess Buzzer Real Estate is buzzerrealestate.com. It's easy to find. So what was our history? I guess we met several years ago at a networking group, and as I said, when we met, it was like, oh my gosh, no wonder. Absolutely, you must have been a performer in your former life because you have such great body language. And that's part of the thing that we're going to talk about today. But without further ado, I want to go ahead and bring Josh on here. So there he is. Welcome. Do you want to add anything to your bio that I was giving off there, or do you want to go right into
I would be blushing. No, I already have it. You did great. Thank you.
So one little tip or thing that I'm going to put out there for everybody that is hiring right now, because one of the things that we read about is this whole weird job market that has kind of occurred post-pandemic, is that people are having a hard time finding or hiring because, I don't know, like people aren't necessarily applying for whatever reason, or they're making more on unemployment than they would be working for you. But so if folks out there are struggling, and particularly if you're looking for someone in sales and business development, and you see that they have performance-oriented things on their resume, don't throw that in the pile. Don't circular file that resume, because they will probably become your best and top salesperson faster than anybody else because of their performance background. They have empathy because they've literally been in other people's shoes in order to play roles, whether it's as a singer, a dancer, or actor, any kind of performance. They're going to have the personality that you need, or the ability to morph to be the personality that your customer needs. And so that's part of what I really wanted to talk about today, is this observation piece of being able to use, and performers haven't lost the ability to use their body, to have that flexibility. And so many people, that's one of the top things that I work on as a body language person, is just flexibility, so that your body can respond to what it is that you're seeing from somebody else naturally. But performers already have that. So and I think that's probably a lot of your secret sauce as a real estate.
We call it mirroring.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, you have to be able to, you know, get into the other person's shoes and that sort of thing. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there for everybody. If you're struggling, please, or if you're a performer, now's the time. Like, get out there and and
Yes,
get that
yes.
resume out there, because we haven't been performing for months and months. So whatever kind of, if performance is your main deal, your side hustle probably should be sales of some sort. Um,
I agree with that. I agree with that. It's just hard when because a lot of people, especially in the acting world, right? You're trying to get onto that movie set or TV show, or in this case, here in Chicago, a lot of plays. And they run for, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And so the idea is that whatever you're selling goes kind of on the back burner because you're learning scripts. So it is that, I mean, it is that piece, but I say the same thing. Some of the best hires I've ever had have been waitresses and retail and performers. And I say that because if you put that same time and effort in that you were to as a waiter or retail or even performing, you will be able to sell whatever you want to, right? What you focus on truly expands. So if I say it just like that, because I promise you, if you put as much time into your retail job, right? Because they're usually there on their feet, stocking, helping, reorganizing, doing all that. I promise you, this is a lot easier, but it is time consuming and something you have to learn. Most definitely.
Yeah, and the ability to wear a lot of hats, right? I mean, as real
Yes.
estate, you're half the time you're probably psychologist just as much as you are in right? In sales. You have to understand finances and mortgage and lots of things. And I wanted to, at some point today, I want to talk about your mediation
Sure.
side of things, because I think that's huge in business, being able to negotiate and mediate and be a lead negotiator, and price and all that kind of thing. Um, but one thing probably everybody is curious about is like, oh my gosh, you're talking to a real estate expert. So what's
Yep.
happening in real estate? Because we hear a lot of things. And right now I'm hearing, at least in the suburbs where I live, I've talked to some people who are having a really hard time because homes are just kind of going at this crazy, like 20, 30, $40,000 over asking price kind of thing right now.
That's
And
true.
I also hear from other people that, oh my gosh, you should move to the city because a lot of people left during all of this
The
and during the
exile.
riots and all of that. So is that really what's happening, or what do you think is happening right now in real estate?
Yeah, I don't think I have data. What you just said was exactly correct. So the idea is the city is a buyer's market and the suburbs is a seller's market. Why? Simple. There are more supply. We almost have a year and a half worth of supply here in the city. So with that being said, there's just more properties and there are people wanting to get back into the city as we speak. And then the flip side is the suburbs, right? And we're talking about all suburbs at this point in time because some people have moved totally 30, 40, 50, 60 miles outside of the city. Um, because of, again, small amount of inventory, huge amount of demand. People were living in condos just like I am and saying, okay, I'm sitting in the pandemic. I can't go outside. I can't do anything. I have a gym. I have a pool. I have a door person. What am I paying for this? Why? What am I doing? Right. And it was one of these things where it was a catch 22 because they saw their money going out for the HOA fees that, suburbs sometimes have as well. And they were just getting upset. Right. They're like, all this money's going, I can't do anything. You're keeping me inside my house, whatever I mean, again, the biggest thing I've ever sold in the city is 1,800 square feet, right? I mean, that's the biggest, right? There's not that many huge places. Now, there are single family homes that I've sold here in the city that are much bigger, but I'm talking about people that really exiled. It's not the homes that are holding us down or making it a buyer's market. It's the condo world that we live in that is making it that way. Great for investors. My investors were like sharks when this all happened. I mean, we were getting some phenomenal deals for a lot of them. And then in the suburbs, same thing. So, for instance, I have 2 houses coming up this week. I have a photo shoot tomorrow, and I put a sign in the yard just to build up the anticipation. And they've had already in the last 24 hours 3 people knock on their door. They couldn't find it online. And so again, they're just hounding, right? Because their neighbors saw it, they called somebody, and boom, They're like, hey, what's going on? Can I see the house? There's no pictures. I can't find it online. I was like, do not let
It's
them
like
in. Do not
the
let them
sign
in. You
says
don't know who they
coming
are.
soon. It
Yes.
doesn't say, right? Well, I feel like when I take the dog on a walk around the neighborhood, like every day, I'm like, oh, wow, another house for sale, another house for sale. So I don't know if that's even part of it, that people are like, ooh, if it's a buyer's market, I'm going to sell, and I don't know where they're moving to, but maybe
Yeah.
the folks out here are like, you know what? I don't have to live here and, and pay these property taxes and blah, if we've all gone remote, I can, move to the warmer climes or
Well,
wherever I want to.
there are plenty of people relocating, and again, right now is the time, right? So again, if in fact you're in the suburbs, you want to capitalize, right? I would say buy, right? I'm sorry, sell, get out, put your house on the market, make that happen for yourself. Again, like you just said, though, where are you going? There is no joke. Florida's up, Arizona's up, Las Vegas is up, California's down. People are exiling California in a huge way and going literally to Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, Utah, and they are driving their prices astronomically higher than they have before, and it's all cash. So there's a huge problem going on in those states as well. There's no one rushing here, unfortunately, but there are plenty of people here. We are the third largest city in the country. We have plenty of industry. They're not going anywhere. But these other states that are a little bit warmer are having a surplus, and their numbers are going up, and there are cash buyers out there because there are plenty of states more expensive than ours, including New York, that once they sell their house, once again, here it is. And money is cheap. I mean, that's really what I would be completely transparent, I think, in the idea, and I am not a factual person here. I cannot give you exact idea, but in the industry, we say it was the money being cheap, right, is what really motivated people to start moving. To get, okay, so yes, I wanted to get out of the city and I wanted to go get more land, but it's the ability for somebody, no matter, I mean, I don't care if you're at minimum wage working full time, you're making $24,000 a year, you can buy a home right now, right? There are loans out there, there are homes out there that you could stop paying someone else's mortgage and pay your own, right? There's so many benefits to home ownership, right? The American dream, as some would say. That is really what's motivating. And as they creep up, right, your buying power technically comes down no matter where you're looking, no matter where you are in the country. And that is going to slow it down for sure. It already has. During the pandemic, let's say in the middle of COVID, let's say this time last year, rates were in the low threes, if not some of them 2.7%. I mean, I can't get my credit cards under 11, and I fight for those things. I'm like, please, bring it out. So it is great to have that opportunity to borrow money that cheaply. That's kind of where we're at.
So if it is this, depending either whether you are the buyer or the seller, I guess, depending on what your market's like, perhaps particularly for the folks that are trying to move and are finding that they're having difficulty because they, every house that they put a bid in on, it deflates on them. Is there, something that they can do? I mean, this is kind of weird, like body language wise, or the realtors that are trying to get people to purchase their stuff. Like, what do you see that is sort of like missing in the marketplace, or what are people doing right when it comes to that, as you say, the mirroring or the rapport? Like, how is somebody blowing it, or or how is somebody attracting the right people?
Yeah. You just asked a boatload of questions right there. You went from the buyer side to the seller side, right?
Whichever one you like.
Yeah. So I'll try to go in reverse order here. So again, mirroring, body language, and all of that is usually when I'm working with a customer, right? To an introvert, can be very overwhelming, right? I am spontaneous. I can be loud. I talk faster than most. So when I'm talking to somebody, I have to mirror their speech pattern so they feel comfortable with me. They can be referred to me and like, oh, Josh is amazing. You got to work with him. He got me the best deal on my house. He'll do the same for you. I get in front of someone that, again, is very analytical, let's say, or an A type, and I am not their cup of tea. So I have to mirror what they need, which is mirroring an A type. And then they're like, oh, okay, I get it. I like Josh. I agree with you. When I first met him, not so much, but now I'm with him because I have to figure out who they are. But
Right.
that's where the mirroring comes in. when it comes into making an offer, and where I see a lot of my counterparts, remember, because I get plenty of offers, right? It comes down to a few things. One, unfortunately, in our business, there is a lot of ego. There are so many people, and to give you a real number, there are 13,000 realtors in the actual city limits alone. Forget the suburbs, right? Because there's plenty more out there. 13,000 of us. Before the pandemic, let's say 2019, because I think it's more of a real number, only 6,100 of them actually did a transaction. Yes, there are so many part-timers out there, or people that just buy and sell for themselves, that there's really not that industry. So the idea is the average realtor lasts 2 years in our business and make under $10,000, right? So there's people that make much more, much less, but again, there's this average here. So because of that, everyone knows a realtor. Somehow, some way, you are literally less than 3 people away, like, the world of separation between 3 people that you know. Now, again, do they really practice? They just hold a license. So I usually know who I'm dealing with when I get the offer. So a few things I would suggest out there, besides hiring me, if you have a realtor that you really want to stick with, would be a few things. One, use an escalation clause. So the reason why most people get beat out in this market is because when you give me an offer, I have no idea how far you're willing to go. So with that being said, at some point in time, and a lot of times in our market, I mean, some of the houses I'm selling are literally less than 24 hours. I had one in Skokie, less than 6 hours. Yeah. And we got over asking price as well. Is you want two things. One, have your realtor make an escalation clause. What is an escalation clause? It is, you're going to give me the offer, whatever you want to give me, but then you're going to fill out another form that says, I'm willing to pay X. I will pay $1,000, $500, $100 over any real offer you get up to X. And so the idea is that, okay, my offer is, I don't know, let's call it a $100,000 home. I give you the $100,000 that you asked for, and then I'm going to also give you a side note. Hey, listen, here's an escalation clause. My clients really want it, right? And they'll pay up to $110,000, and they'll pay $1,000 over any offer you can prove you really got, right? So that's one way of doing it, to let them know, hey, listen, whatever you get, I promise your buyers, because you as a seller's agent, your responsibility is to get the most money possible for their property, right? That is our job. Here it is. I'm offering you $1,000 over any offer you get, right? And then again, you have to discuss that with your client. Explaining to someone that they have to pay over asking price, a lot of people cannot fathom that, right? There's a sticker price on everything we buy. It's like buying a can of Coca-Cola, and all of a sudden now, you know what? I'll pay $1.20 for that. And people are like, why would you do that? I mean, again, the psyche of sales in general, and there are plenty of people out there that just don't want to. Just don't want to pay over what they're asking. And then the flip side of that conversation, again, like I said, you open up a can of worms here. So sometimes I actually price my properties under market to force a bidding war. Because a lot of times if I do a bidding war, I will get these people at a low end, but they can afford more, and they will overbid and get me even more than I think we could have gotten if we would have gone for market price. But when the consumer sees a price, they don't want to pay more.
Well, that's why you have to use somebody that knows what they're doing, because that number that you first put on there is pretty important, right? Because everybody's always looking, or they're like, well, maybe I'll let it, I don't have to move right now. Maybe but I really like that house. I'm going to let it sit for a month and see if they lower the price. There's those games, right? That
there's
buyers
no sitting anymore. Yeah. Again, if you're coming
they
to the
can't
city
do that
of
right
Chicago,
now.
yes, if you're coming to the city of Chicago, or you're going to to New York City, most definitely you can let it sit and see what ends up happening, right? However, I would not suggest that in any suburban market at this time, just because if it has land, you better jump, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even the single family homes here in the city proper, same thing, are moving relatively quick. The idea is you will never pay less for whatever home you buy than you will right now, no matter what you pay for it, right? The interest rate is lower now, hopefully, than it will be in a year from now, and 2 years, and 3 years, as it keeps growing. So in other words, your monthly payment will be less right now than it will ever be in the near future.
Yeah. That's why I was so bummed, because my plan really is to downsize to move into the city, but I was like, I can't do it right now. This would be the time. So maybe we'll have to talk about an investment property instead. So I want to talk about this whole um, master negotiator part. Because so when
Sure.
you were talking to another agent, what do you now? I don't know whether this is switched. Like, do you pretty much do everything still over the phone, or has it switched to like getting everybody on Zoom around the table kind of
Yeah.
deal, or no?
I wish it was actually on Zoom. It is not. The world we live in has become so impersonable in that sense. So at this point in time, it comes into, and this is also usually where I can find a weak agent from a strong agent. I won't lie, I'll get my secret, my special sauces out there. When I get an offer that I think is low, I will ask such agent to, hey, really appreciate your offer, right? I'm giving kindness because the truth is I really do appreciate other people. My ego is out the freaking door for a number of reasons. But the truth be told, I ask, hey, can you do me a favor, Allison? Love your offer. Thank you so much. I need help me help your client sell my client on the price you gave me. Can you give me some comps? Like, where did you come up with this number?
Mm-hmm.
You would be amazed to me how many times I don't get an answer or a response, and or the response is, well, this is what my customer thinks it's worth. Your customer? Aren't you the professional?
Yeah, based on what? Right?
So this is the world we live in, okay? And so again, that's usually how I size up somebody immediately, so I know who I'm dealing with. But if they can prove to me, then here we go, right? Now I okay, good. I got a strong negotiator. Now, this is something I do, right? I already
Mm-hmm.
have everything I need in my arsenal because I would never make an offer because normally what I personally do is I give three numbers at all times when we're trying to buy something. I give what we call a fire sale, and then I give the real. So the real is a trying to get nice. So my real number is that again, if this was my client, the lowest number I would expect them to take is this. And honestly, I don't think you should pay more than X, right? And then even
Mm-hmm.
before we do that, I'm saying, and the fire sale. It's in the same email. It's on every one I always bid on because I want to make sure, once again, communicating with my clients is bar none the most important thing, and expectations kill relationships. So with that being said, I want to set the expectation. Here's a fire sale. What does that mean? If in fact this client, being the seller, was in dire strait and needed to get out of this house and went for a short sale or needed to get money from the bank, this would probably be the least they're going to take because the property is worth this all day, every day, no matter what happens. Realistically, they're not taking this. So here's the real numbers. Now,
Mm-hmm.
where do you start? Where do you go? Right? And sometimes my clients do put me in a position where I cannot prove how low they're pushing it. I have one going on right now.
Well, what a great you know advice for anybody that's going into something that, particularly when people don't understand or don't know the value. So let's talk a second about nonverbal communication when it
Amen.
comes to you know to that. I mean, I love the idea of me having enough chutzpah to go back to them and say, well, what are you basing that, when you say, what is your range? And they say, oh, well, we'd like to pay $500 for that 3-hour training.
For sure.
Okay. Based on, is that really what you're paying for other, trainers? I'm curious as to, because for me, I'm like, wow, I'm, training your whole, team of 20 or 30 people, and you only want me you want me to take $500. I mean, it's this weird, like, what is the perceived value of what it is that you offer, kind of thing. And so that, getting that idea from them early on, right? Whether what they value and how much and where you may be able to go, or what is their range before you spend hours and hours on a proposal or something like that. I think there's a lot of people, particularly folks like me, who are consultants and just kind of always feel like we're going in blind as far as we know, just like you, there is a low point. We will not go below this. And so I've
Right.
lost some really big companies over this pandemic, particularly over little things like, well, because we're doing this on Zoom, we'd like to record this, and then we're going to, because we think others of our teams will enjoy or will benefit from this information. Hold up. So I'm actually doing this training how many times for you? Or, so I've tried to lease, the rights to show this for 3 months or something, to other people.
For
And
sure.
and a lot of other consultants, I've been complaining about this on LinkedIn, have been letting the companies record and just share it however they want. And I'm like, you're hurting all of us by doing that. So let's stop. But that's another,
Well,
I guess, soapbox
we
for
have
another
this
day.
we have the same thing going on in our industry as well with discount brokers and all this other stuff, right? So trust me, what you just said really stuck into the heart of what it is, because they're in our opinion, those that have been doing this, and obviously again, like you said, negotiation. I went back to school for that, right? That's a designation. That's an actual degree that I went back to school after getting my real estate license to actually get. So I have, that's why I can put in my signature, negotiation expert, certified negotiation expert, right? The Illinois, we call Illinois professional regulations, doesn't allow everyone to do that because it's illegal, right? The idea is if you have the designation, you can use it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there are plenty of people disrupting our industry and taking market share, in our opinion, but doing a horrendous job and then devalues what we do for a living in general.
Right, like lowering the percentage that they take or doing some kind of weird, we'll sell it all online for you or whatever. I mean,
Yeah, there
weird
there
things I've
are
been
yeah
seeing
yeah.
lately.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on that God, I can't knock somebody on a recorded video, but yes, there are companies out there really screwing us up for years now, and most of them are publicly traded and not profitable. So it's like
Mm.
it's this catch 22. How long will they last? But however, what damage has been done thus far?
Oh, yeah, that's really interesting to think that really it is kind of happening across the board. And there are always, I guess, are these disruptors, or there is the idea of, will you find somebody that will be able to do it cheaper? Yes, but there's the, you get what you pay for idea.
I've
And
won many bids
maybe,
by saying just that.
yeah, maybe we need to remind everybody out there. So did you hear that? Remember, you still get what you pay for. Pandemic, no pandemic, you
Amen.
still, right, this is still kind of a factual thing that's been around for forever. There's always going to be the cheesy salesman, or snake oil salesman, or those kinds of analogies out there. um, so I want to talk just briefly about your MC thing, because I guess I
Sure.
didn't realize that you had, maybe when we met you didn't have the business of that. Have you always had that side, or is that new?
So, as you mentioned, Jenny Jones was in the early 90s, right? So I have been performing way before, like started in 93. And then in 99, a few of my, entertainment people that we were around says, Josh, you got to start, being the guy on the mic, man. You got to start being, a presence, because now you're older. I was, again, I was in college at that point in time. And so I started being trained. And so literally master of ceremony. So whether it be a corporate event, whether it be a picnic, whether it be a bar mitzvah, the wedding announcer, I've done ballets. I mean, literally anything you need an announcement for is this ability for me to go ahead and be the master of that ceremony, whatever that may look like. Yeah. So that
Did
is,
you switch over to the whole virtual master of ceremony stuff, or no?
so no, I didn't do any, so there were only few and far between that were there. So there were people, again, I literally referred some of that out to my CEOs or even my booking agents out there that were actually doing the business and again hiring afterwards. So I actually personally didn't do anything in the last year. My last gig was, I think, March 17th, 2020, and I was in San Francisco.
Yeah. And then
Cut.
everything
Yeah.
shut down,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's been cut. All the gigs that were where I was on last year got canceled. They didn't rebook. At this point in time, they haven't rebooked.
Hmm.
So we'll see what
What happens
there.
after this?
Yeah, the entertainment world is starting to come back in a very small way, very intimate gatherings at this point in time. Weddings are coming back, but again, I think the biggest one I've seen thus far in 89 people, which for weddings or gatherings in that sense is not big. Corporate events have not come back. Corporate meetings, sales meetings haven't come back. Um, I mean, I had no part of this, but to give you like an idea of how kind of scale, Tony Robinson, I'm sure you've heard of him. So one of the companies that I have been hired for since 1994, to be honest with you, is a company called CSP Productions. They, at one point in time, were with him in regards to when you see the fire coming from the back, the screens, everything else. they traveled with him, and they're the ones that set him up, right? So in other words, all that stage presence, everything you see, mics, special effects, that was all their company. Now, I never had to MC for him because he's a master at it himself.
Right.
But but it's the after parties that we would do, right? Because you go to these seminars and then they have these night parties and they get the people to correspond with each other and have a good time. So normally, if you put people in a corporate room with just music, it doesn't work, right? Give enough booze, you'll see all kinds of new things go on. But sometimes you need us to
Still pod, right? They just pod in their own little groups with the people that they know, even though it's supposed to be networking or something. I always find those to be really interesting when you walk into those types of situations.
That's every networking group it is, right? You walk in, all of a sudden it's like high school. Where do I fit in?
And you feel awkward, like butting into this little circle of people. But I finally kind of got over that. And I would just walk up and be like, hey, I'm busting up the group. What you talking about? Kind of thing. Is how else do you do it? You just sort of have to laugh and be like, I'm new here. Help me out. Kind of thing.
And this goes back to what I was saying. You as an extrovert, I'm an extrovert. This would work for a group of extroverts. If you're standing, let's say, around 3 A types just talking accounting, and you did that, sometimes they don't laugh, like they don't get it, like it's just
right. And they're kind of like,
this is too much.
Okay.
Yes. So this is what I'm referring to, but you don't know who you're walking into, right? That's the thing.
You don't, exactly. So for a little while there, I tried to be what I thought people wanted or what I was supposed to be as a consultant in a business world and blah, blah. Because of course, coming from the theater background, I had no clue. I was used to those groups of people, right? Because every time you start a new project, every 6 weeks, you're done with that rehearsal process. You go into performance, and then you go and you start to rehearse your next thing if you're lucky enough to have one kind of back to back. But you're always going into new groups of people. So as a performer, we're totally used to breaking up the groups or saying, okay, hey, so who are you in this mix of people? And so that's kind of what I was used to. Then I was like, okay, then I tried to be all reserved, whatever. And then I was like, that didn't necessarily work because that wasn't really who I was either. So then I had to learn to just be who we are. And
be you, yes.
So there's another good thing for everybody. Be, mirroring, empathy, be who you are. And
Amen.
And if you were, now might be the perfect time to either sell your place or get into the city and buy something right now. All of you people that think you're going to be an investor someday, maybe now is the time to be an investor. Maybe even get several of your friends together and pull your money and, and take on an investment so that then you can, grow your empire. Because really, as most financial people I've ever talked to, that's one of the ways to make the most or, build your assets in multiple places. Investing is
one of the only assets in general, right, that actually appreciates or that you can borrow against, right? No matter what you want to buy, a boat, a car, a ring, a dress, God knows, whatever you want. It's the one thing that you could say, here, put a lien on it, right? I'll put my house up against whatever I want to do, a trip to Europe, whatever it may be, right? Because someone could get it back from you. There's not many other things in this world that we live in that allow you to have leverage. It goes above and beyond just the real estate itself. I buy it now, I'll sell it later, and I'll make some money in between. The point is that you have power to do a lot of things with it when you own it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's many ways of looking at it, but yes, the empire of real estate. There are plenty of people doing it now, and now people are making apps. The world is changing, no doubt, but there's still one thing that's going to happen: shelter. People need shelter. It's a primary need that we have, right? And so that is why I got into this business. In general, I love helping people and I love being a part of it, but interacting, getting someone from point A to point B is so satisfying when they're happy, right? And that is what really lights me up when I get to hand over those keys and say, hey, this is yours. And it's like, you could see it's overwhelming for sure, right? Because normally you're signing, you own your house, so you get it. You sign like 100 pieces of paper, and you have no idea what's going on. The lawyer's talking to you, and I'm there, I'm watching you, and sign, sign, sign. Keys? Ooh, it's mine, right? I mean, so yeah, it's overwhelming, but so cool. So cool.
And that first drive, up the driveway, or I guess in the city, to your parking spot that you paid an extra $300,000 or $500,000 for your parking spot when you go into that little parking spot.
That's right. You own
It's
concrete,
yours, right? That'll be us someday when we get back to the city. That's still the goal. Is we move straight to the suburbs.
We're inching back. Again, we're even starting to hit traffic. In the last 3 weeks here, we're starting to get traffic on the morning commute coming back into the city, which means it's only a matter of time before people get so frustrated with that drive once again and go, I got to go back to the city. And they will come back. We're probably a year and a half out before we're truly booming again, because there's so many companies talking about, September, October, we'll come back. But I think once 2022 hits December, all businesses will be back, if they're coming back, right? And then at that point in time, the youngsters will get out of college and they'll want to live here again. And, again, I'll be honest, just to be clear, right now, there are a bunch of companies buying up buildings, condo buildings, offering millions and just separating it between the people that own it. People are okay with their profit, and they're turning them into renters. So the city of Chicago is going to turn into technically downtown New York, where there will be more corporately owned property than there will be individual homeowners, which means the uber rich, let's be completely honest, will be able to stay, the Manhattan, if you will, and then everyone else will be pushed out or they'll be renting. That will be the future of Chicago. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, because I believe right now we're around 60-40. That's 40% right now of actual current homeowners versus the corporately owned buildings.
Yikes. Well, yes. Making my husband watch at least that last 3 or 4 minute talking to him.
Done. I'll be happy to have a conversation. Just let me know when.
I know, funny. We're going to get off live and your phone's going to ring and I'm going to talk.
Yeah, for sure.
What are we looking at? Because my plan, I don't want my plan spoiled. And my husband laughs. He's like, do we need to have a countdown clock in the kitchen? Because you talk about this all the time.
Coming back to the city?
Leaving the suburbs. He's like, do we have a countdown clock? I'm like, well, the countdown seems to be moving because I'm not sure I'm going to get my younger son booted out of the house as fast as I thought. So, but that's where that's where that 2 or 3 flat comes in. So we live on.
Yes, there you go. You could teach him responsibility by charging him rent in the same household.
Absolutely. It's like you could pay rent and live in your own apartment, or we could stay in the suburbs and you could pay to rent your room. Which would you rather do? Yeah, the whole responsibility thing. Yeah, we gotta. We're struggling with that a little bit right now.
You know what that means, though? That means that you treated him well as a child, and so he didn't learn it then because you were so wonderful to him that now you have to switch.
I will. But I think there are a lot. That's going to be the interesting thing, right? I mean, there's probably a whole industry just in that, as far as the kids who they're going to get out of college. Hopefully, they go to college and then they get out of college. But what they don't have any clue as to what they're really going to have to pay for things, or that you and I, when we first got out, I mean, there was no cell phone. There was no cable bill really, or the cable bill was what, $20 a month or something. It was
cheap.
Right? They don't realize what mom and dad are actually paying for them, right? The insurance costs, all that stuff. And they don't really still teach that in school. So it's going to be a big shock to a whole, this, I think, particularly this generation. I feel like the kids of the 40, 50-year-olds right now are going to have the hardest time, I think, because we worked so hard to provide better than we were, for whatever that means, that for them to provide even more, I don't know how they're going to do it, in a sense.
Man.
I'm like, that constant thing, if you have to do better than your parents, I think that's
a whole other conversation. But
Yeah, it's
yes,
going to be an
yes.
interesting crash for all those 20-somethings. But maybe they'll prove us wrong. So, all right, everybody, we should get off of here. And just make sure that you reach out to Josh. Where is the comments?
Thank
Yeah,
you so much
so
for having me. I'm happy to
yes.
talk to you and everyone else watching. Again, yes, anything you need real estate wise. Again, in Illinois, I'm only licensed here. Be happy to help, but if not, I have plenty of counterparts all over the country that I actually trust that do a good job for you.
Yeah, and you still have to do your YouTube videos and all that
Oh yeah,
stuff?
for sure. You can go to
Yeah,
YouTube
so he's got lots of great tip videos and stuff, and they're so fun to watch because they're edutainment, as they say, or whatever. They're educational, but they're also going to be they're not going to be totally boring like some of those. This is what you need.
yeah, I can't do that. No, it's not me.
No, we can't. It's like impossible, right? So, well, everybody have a great day. If you want, the one thing that's coming up next week on Wednesday, so the day after our LinkedIn Lives, if anybody wants invited to a noon thing, the Tales Your Body Tells, the last Wednesday of every month is this little hour-long fun thing that I do just for my community or for people that are following me. And so it's kind of an invite only. We keep it small, but the idea is to look at personalities is a part of it. We look at some some of the latest and greatest, Saturday Night Lives or openings or, interviews with pop stars that what they're doing with their body language, because those are fun to pick apart. And then we talk about business body language and stuff too. So if you're interested in that, just reach out to me at Moving Image Consulting, and we'll get you signed up for that too. So thanks, everybody. We will sign off here. And thanks so much to Joshua for all that great info. And we'll see you next week.
Nice.